And it's February 21st, 2023, 10 a.m. right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning, live from Channels HQ. It's great to have you join us. Let's kick off now with global market. We see Brent oil fell today, reversing the previous day's gains. We see Brent crude, that was down about 96 cents, a big drop, about 1.1% at $83.11 a barrel, while US WTI crude futures for March, which expires today, was unchanged at $76.34 a barrel. We'll drill down on what's driving that market later on the show. But for soft commodities, now we see London cocoa futures on nice close higher as tight supplies led to concerns about potential default in West Africa, while Robusta coffee and white sugar prices also rose. The May London cocoa LCC2 ended 1.1% higher at £2,144 a ton. It had risen on Friday to a 6-year high of £2,155,000. We'll keep tracking that market also later on the show. And back here, some Nigerians have asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to be clear on directives for commercial banks to accept old 500 and 1,000 naira notes. They lament how they are tossed between the CBN and commercial banks. Meanwhile, some residents of Lagos State are appealing to the president to allow both old and new naira notes to coexist for some time more. Our correspondent, Timothy Crown, reports.
Weeks into the cash crunch across Nigeria over the naira swap policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, many Nigerians are yet to find their feet, wailing over the implication on their lives, businesses, and more.
We have not been coping. We are just roaming up and down. We have not been coping. No need for that coping. No market. No market. No market.
We need a new note.
The anger expressed by these people seemed to be one that cuts across class and status, telling tales of how they have fared since the naira swap policy took a new dimension early in February.
This cashless, no naira, is affecting business so much. So we are not doing business, it's not moving as you normally do before. So for now, there's no people, if you can see, there's no everywhere is scanty because there's no money. Even people to come out, there's more money to enter motor.
From one part of town to another in Lagos, the nation's commercial north center, it's been tales of lamentation.
I'm queued now over 2 hours. No any development.
That's not the general feeling. Some choose to bear the pain in the overall interest of the country.
We love what the government is doing by taking off the old notes because we don't want the election to be rigged. We don't want the election, I don't want the politician to bribe people over this election. I want the election to be free and fair.
At the Central Bank of Nigeria in Lagos, bank customers are seen taking the road naira notes for deposit. Camera movement is not allowed beyond this point.
I came here around 11. It wasn't difficult. I was asked of my paper, the online lesson here, and I gave it to them, and I was allowed to enter. And when I got there, it was so easy. Just drop and they calculate the money and you go.
Not all customers have the same sweet story of ease of transactions.
And then CBN this morning by 7 o'clock, I was there. They told me to return back to the same Zenith bank that they have instructed them to collect the money. I then asked them, is it to collect the money with code or without code? They insisted I must go back, that there is instruction given to the household on what to do. I returned back this morning to Zenith Bank, Creek Road, Apapa. You can imagine, I'm just coming back to CBN.
On Friday, February the 17th, 2023, CBN released a statement discrediting information that it permits commercial banks to accept old notes from customers. There's no update to that statement yet, leaving customers stranded. In all, the yearnings of most Nigerians is that these policies should begin to wear a human face. Timothy Crown, Aderibibe, Channels Television News.
Yeah, definitely a tough time for everyone. And apparently I was actually begging for cash this morning. I don't have cash till now. But, you know, we know people are not happy with what's happening. It can get really frustrating. But we keep saying it here. If you must protest, let it be peaceful. You know, destroying bank assets will not help us in any way, because at the end of the day, we're still going to need the banks after all of this blows up. So please, we implore you to please try not to destroy any bank assets. Just have your peaceful protests, and at some point, we'll get through all of this. At the end of the day, we'll get to a point where we can be cashless, hopefully. But now let's take the conversation forward. Now we see the domino effect of the cash crunch is being felt across sectors of the economy, and one is the agricultural industry, as most activities are cash dependent. Joining us now is Muftau Balariwa, president of the Cocoa Association of Nigeria. Join us via Zoom. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So from all indications, your industry is heavily cash dependent. How are you managing with the cash scarcity at this point?
Thank you. I think we are not managing anything. The country is in coma. All the villages now, most of the money that the exporters have given to our licensed buying agent, they could not get cash to get to the rural and hinterland for the people, for the customers. And as a result of this, for the past 2 weeks, we cannot receive any commodity, cocoa, sesame, whatever it is, in our various warehouses. And this has become untold hardship on our farmers. It has been very, very difficult for the farmers, difficult for the licensed buying agent, difficult for the factors, even difficult for our forwarders that are supposed to carry forward the goods to the ports. In all sectors, we have been stranded.
And are you people trying to make use of any of those payment channels, you know, that we have, you know, at this point? Are you trying to explore those to see how you can actually, because I know a lot of people just, you know, like to trade with cash, even though, you know, we have some of these channels. Are you exploring them at all?
Yes, what we are saying, there's nothing wrong with the policy, but it's wrongly implemented. In a nation like ours, I even know a whole local government in my state, in Kwara State, that has no one single bank. So how do you go to transfer money to the customers there? So you can only transfer to your key customer, like licensed buying agent. But real farmers that's in the bush, most of them, they don't even operate, they don't have bank accounts. So they believe in cash. And if they don't see that cash, they will not release their goods to our customers. And this thing has created a serious problem in all the areas. Yes, we can transfer to them. Some of our LBs, they have banks. They are running accounts. But the real farmer, downtrodden people in the bush that are really doing the normal farming, as we are supposed to take this cocoa, they will not take cash. They cannot get cash. And when they don't get cash, there's no way they can give you your goods.
Yeah,
so but nothing is working as far as cocoa is concerned in all the rural areas and all other commodities too. Nobody is enjoying anything.
Definitely a tough situation from the picture you just painted there. But I know we moved recently from fifth largest cocoa producers recently. I think we moved to about 4th position. Any risk to our position with this cash crunch at the moment?
Well, the major risk, it's not likely that we will not drop further, because once the cocoa in the farms are getting spoiled, you cannot get it to the hinterland for export. And all this cocoa, because there are so many factors that are affecting cocoa. After you have done the fermentation and everything, and you cannot get it to your warehouse to export at the right time, the free fatty acid, which we call FFA, will rise in cocoa. And the customers too that you are even giving, that are supposed to export, if you are unable to export to them at the right time, they will cancel their contract, because If you are supposed to ship in March, and you are not shipping the cocoa in March or May or February, because of this cash cost, you cannot even get, even the one you are already putting the money in the bush, you cannot get it back from your LBS. How are you going to ship? So it's affecting us seriously. There's nothing wrong for government to change to do cash swap. But what is wrong is that to close the old currency, it has to be, they're supposed to allow it to operate side by side, at least like 6 months, 8 months along the line, so that over time people will just fall naturally into it and they will start understanding it. But how can you just wake up overnight in a nation where so many rural areas they don't even have bank? I don't like my grandmother at home. I just tell her that, okay, you have to if you want to give us cocoa, you have to go and open her time. She don't even answer you that what do you mean? She wants her cocoa. If you wants to buy, bring your money and take it away. And because of this, it has been, people are going as far as go to the various all these cash center like
the super agents,
petrol station and co to lobby, and they are buying this naira at a heavy rate from them. You need 1,000 naira, they say you have to pay 300 naira. You need 10,000 naira, you have to pay 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. So how do you factor that to do your business? Where are you going to operate? And cocoa is a global price. They will not say because there is a cash swap in Nigeria, okay, we are going to increase your price because of the problem you are having. Nobody will listen to you. So that's why we are encouraging government, they should find means to alleviate the problem of the society. People are suffering and it is a time bomb. The government has to do something immediately to rectify the problem.
Is your association having any conversations with the government at this point?
We do. We have explained to our major supervising ministry, Ministry of Trade and Investment, agree. All of them are also in the same shoe. Even if you tell them what is their influence with the government, because the present CBN governor does not even listen to anybody. He does things as the way he likes. Because this kind of program has to properly process within the community, seeking the opinions of the people. This is the way he wants to do it. This is the alternative. He wants to create an alternative for people's survival. Yes, it's good for, you say you don't want politicians to rig election. If you are blocking them in naira, you're going to block them in dollars. The politicians are even more smarter than them. You can't block them everywhere. Those who want to spend money will spend money. There's nothing we want to do about it. It is we as a nation that we should plan ourselves. Gradually we'll get into it. It is very painful for the people.
Definitely.
I don't need cash to spend. So if they are saying that policy to me, it may not affect me much because I will only do transfer. But what I'm saying, the real people that occupy the percentage of our population, which is over 75% of the people that are in the rural areas.
Obviously, the unbanked is quite a massive population at this point, and obviously this process, even though we have the good intentions, to get us to be a cashless economy, it is definitely painful, with how it's being done right now. But how do you see this impacting global cocoa prices? Because I did see a report that cocoa prices are rising, due to distortions in what we're seeing in West Africa right now.
Well, for the global market, the problem and the major problem that is causing distortion in the cocoa market is because that the production is shortfall this year. There is not enough cocoa, and because of the problem we are having in South Africa, in Ivory Coast and Ghana, create a serious pressure on Nigerian cocoa. So most of them are coming here to buy the cocoa. And what we are producing is less than what they required. So local price went up even above the terminal market. So and which is affecting the exporters seriously this year. And since you have having the contract, there's nothing you can do. You must get them their cocoa. But it's your own peculiar problem in your own country. It doesn't concern them. Because if there is cocoa and the price goes down, they will not relent on their own contract. Why should we relent on our own contracts? And we have not even get out of that problem now. Another car swaps entered, which is even create a total collapse in the industry.
All right, let's look at other matters that have to do with exports of cocoa. We know, some of our produce get rejected at the international market, either due to use of pollutants and agro chemicals. How's that being sorted now? Are our products being accepted better than before?
That's because of our own Association Cocoa Association of Nigeria. We have done enough of sensitization to our farmers, our licensed buying agents, on proper practice of cocoa. And because of this price attractiveness in Nigeria on the cocoa, everybody's trying, because if your cocoa is not well, nobody will buy it from you, and you will lose your money. So they are trying. At least people are improving now, but we are still not yet there. Why are we not yet there? Is that everybody are too much in a hurry. What the fermentation are supposed to take place for 5 to 7, 8 days to process, to ferment it, to do the fermentation. People are eager because of the price. They want to sell on time to catch up the day. But the question now, what do we really need to improve our own level of position in cocoa industry? We have to increase our production. And if we are to increase our production, we have to get the right chemical for the farmers to apply. And once this thing is done, and that's why what we are trying to do now is to ensure that in all cocoa producing states, we are planning to have all cocoa seed garden for the farmers with high yield, with good quality, and with right chemical getting to them. But it's good, as we are saying, it is very good. But we need government backing. Because if there is no proper legislation, those who are bringing in these various chemicals that are substandard to be used in cocoa farm, the government has to be on them. They have to follow them and make sure that these things are not allowed into the country. All this proliferation of chemicals are passing through our borders, our ports. The NAFDAC is there, the cocoa science is there.
So I guess we need to find a way to not let some of these chemicals into our borders. I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Muftar. Can you hear me? Looks like Mr. Bolanriwa is frozen there. I would try and he was talking about trying to stop all those chemicals from getting into our shores so that the farmers don't have access to them to use them on their yields. But I guess technology there failing us at this time. But that was Mr. Muftar Bolanriwa, President Cocoa Association of Nigeria, there sharing his thoughts on how the whole cash scarcity is impacting that industry, and he did mention a risk to cocoa exports. And obviously at this time, cocoa prices are high, but we need to get those exports out. So it'd be great to solve this cash issue, even though we have that dream of being cashless in this economy, but we'll still keep tracking that. But next, we're going to be looking at the commodities market even closer now, see what's driving oil prices and other commodities in the market. That's our next conversation. To stay with us. And for commodities market update, we have Bolanle Agbaje, our senior analyst, a financial directors company, join us. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, so we did hear the president of the Cocoa Association there, and it is impacting the industry, this cash scarcity. It's incredible how cash dependent that industry is?
It's new information that has kind of surprised us, in the sense that we did not expect. After we've been talking back and forth about this, improving our agricultural industry, and it's sad to hear that one of our major non-oil exports is still heavily dependent on cash, despite the fact that we've spoken severally about improving, advancing, in terms of technology, and the fact that they still rely on humans to move some of these cocoa bags onto trucks and all of that. At this point, it would make more sense to have improved in terms of using technology to do all of that and improving efficiency within that space. But nonetheless, it's still sad that we're having this cash crisis, and I wouldn't not mention the fact that the CBN is still, not doing things right in terms of that. And it's a sad one for us, because right now we're seeing shortfalls in terms of supply from Ivory Coast, and now is the time to benefit significantly from that. And here again, we can't. And right now, the price of cocoa is about 2,777,000 per ton, and it's quite huge at the moment. And it would be nice to benefit from this, considering the fact that external reserves has dwindled significantly.
Because we don't want to miss out on oil, yes, and also miss out on
exactly
this cocoa prices. Exactly. That would be a crime.
Yes, and it would be nice for those associations to do more and take advantage of this opportunity to do more to improve the lives of those farmers. Right now, I'm quite surprised that some of those farmers can't even make simple transfers. I understand that in some of those areas, you most likely wouldn't find banks. I know those mobile money operators have tried really hard to make sure that they're in places that some of these banks don't have branches. But it also, yes, it also speaks on the lack of infrastructure as well, because I don't see how a bank would position themselves in areas like that when they don't have access to good electricity, some of these aiding infrastructure that would make business great for them. So
it's incredible how one branch will service over 50,000 people. How they manage that?
Exactly.
Even though at Bolanle we have all these problems, but I feel there's still opportunity here.
No, there's definitely opportunity, but some of these opportunities require huge investments. So all those kinds of investments are really deterred, because Nigeria is currently not in a stable position, because the Nigerian the bond markets, analysts in the bond markets also mentioned the fact that they don't see, even after the elections, they don't see Nigeria balancing up anytime soon. And the fact that Nigeria is currently terrible at the moment, so they don't see how a new whoever it is that has been elected, they don't see how he could do much worse in the country. And that already speaks to where they're thinking. And currently our bonds are doing terrible at the moment, or one of the worst. And so those are some of the reasons why we're not seeing that kind of investment. Typically it would most likely come from abroad, and that's not the case. But we do hope that after all of this dies down, when there's proper when things have regulated, we expect that some of these opportunities would be taken advantage of.
I'm sure everyone looking forward to post-election.
Exactly, and I'm sure some of them are also taking note of some of those opportunities and will come in at the right time to take advantage of them.
Because at the end of the day, we know the fintechs, they've been pushing hard.
For the fintechs, I know that going forward from this, they're most likely going to improve on their technology. It's weird that they always wanted this traction within their banks, but they did not have the technology to support that system. For crying out loud, like me, for example, I haven't been able to make transfers during the day. I usually wait till night when the traffic is not necessarily much, and that's when I'm able to transfer easily.
And so now everyone knows that there's no traffic at night, so everyone might move to the night. You might not get that.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I've called the bank severally, and they keep mentioning the fact that I should just wait it out. They're having issues with their apps, all of that. So they weren't prepared for this, and it's quite sad. I saw the bankers, the president of the Bankers Association actually mentioned that they weren't prepared. They didn't have time to properly prepare for this implementation, and it's a one-off thing. It's not something.
Time. 1 year before?
Well, in other countries, we've seen examples of, the fact that they give them about 8 months, some up to 1 year, to ease out the pressure because we're heavily cash dependent. And it's surprising to see the numbers and see the fact that, a lot of people in Nigeria rely on cash. And I think it comes down to the lack of trust of the banking system. In this day and age, you still hear a lot of, Nigerians they mention the fact that, I cannot keep my money in the bank. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it, or some of those issues. So they'll rather hold the cash and know that whatever happens in the country, they have their emergency, money. And I'm sure the panic would even follow on till the end of this week, because nobody knows how the election will go, if it will be safe, if it will go as planned. And so I'm sure by Thursday, Friday, you'll see most individuals trying to protect themselves, stock up in their houses, and if they don't have the cash to do that, it would obviously cause some problems during this week.
And I was saying the other day, it is annoying, when elections happen in Africa, you hear things about stocking up and all of that. Why can't it just be a regular? But that's where we find
everyone is
ourselves
scared about it, and they just want to try and protect themselves as much as they can.
But I am expecting a peaceful election, and we're going to have the election.
It's mostly what we do expect and what would like to happen, and we do hope that is how the elections go on Saturday.
All right, let's circle into the oil market now. We see Brent, big drop today, about 1.21%. Is it still recession fears again, or is it China this time?
No, definitely recession fears. Obviously, these are the fears that have been happening, for the past few months, and it's still going to linger until the world economy gets to a position where, central banks, for example, are now easing out. They're showing signs of, some of these economies moderating, and so it's the back and forth situation, or the pull and push, that we'll see with commodity prices, and oil is not an exception. But obviously, the issue of Russian cut in oil production as well, I think that had already been priced in, so we're not seeing that impact on oil prices. But the good news is that the Chinese demand hope is also coming into light. The fact that they had increased or created new refineries that is expected to increase demand by about 1.2 million barrels per day, which is great, and about 4.4 million barrels per day for the next 2 years, which is good. And also the expansion plans with existing refineries as well. So that's great for us, and so a lot of analysts do expect that oil price will touch $100 per barrel at some point this year.
And I see our production is inching up.
Yes, so it will definitely inch up once you correct all those issues there, because we're blessed with the natural resource. So once you correct all those issues of theft, vandalism, and all that, it will definitely start inching up slightly.
Yeah, because I know the Melekiari did mention that we got an uptick in our production. That was in 2022. So that was good news.
Yes, it's great news, and we do hope that it keeps going higher till about 2 million barrels per day, because that's what we can actually produce. And going forward, I think they also mentioned the fact that they're increasing the amount of refined oil that is entering the market as well. So the risk of oil scarcity happening again is not likely from their own, although I did see some queues as I was coming towards this area. And so we do expect that we inch up with our production in the next few months.
What's happening with the Naira and the parallel market? I see it did appreciate about 0.26%, even with all this pressure we're seeing with the Naira.
Yes, so no, there's scarcity of Naira, so that obviously gives you an indication where, once you have, Naira has been pulled out of the market, you definitely...
Do we have that much dollars?
Well, we don't have that much dollars, but you'll still have to feel the impact of the shortfall in Naira on the price, and with the dollar situation, I know obviously you have a lot of agents or Nigerians that actually look for ways to convert their Naira into dollar because they feel more secure in that. But I don't think they're able to do that as much because there's actually no dollar. And obviously the Naira cash squeeze as well would obviously feed into, but the appreciation wasn't that much. In a case where you have enough dollar in the system and a situation where the Naira is squeezed this much, the appreciation should be, the percentage of the appreciation should be way way more than this. But it's just the little squeeze that we're seeing and the little dollar in the market that is affecting, the situation. But all in all, we're still at about 750, and it's still not great for us. Hopefully, going forward with whoever takes on, we do expect that there is unification of exchange rates to start with, and then we can proceed from there. Without that, I don't think would see significant appreciation from the and I think Nigeria also suffers from price stickiness as well. A situation where you see, for example, domestic commodity prices, when you see it inch up, significantly, it never comes down. It's very hard for it to come down, and so we do suffer from price stickiness, and I think that's what we're also facing in the exchange rates market as well.
And I'm talking about domestic commodities there. I see perishables are on the way down, while you see the other dry foods rising.
So for perishables, if some of those market sellers if they don't sell those perishables, they lose. So they have no choice but to make sure that they sell the perishables. But the non-perishables, they can get away with stocking them for as long as they can, or restricting them if, some of those buyers don't have the cash for it. But the perishables will definitely go, because it's a lose-lose for both parties.
And we definitely don't want to see, the sellers lose at this point.
Exactly.
Because
a lot of businesses
add to poverty, if they're selling at loss.
No, with the poverty issue, it's definitely going to happen. More Nigerians are going to remain poor or even become poorer in this next few months. It's a tough one, but
quite a tough pill to swallow.
A very tough pill to swallow, but it's a no-brainer with whatever is happening in the market. You have, from your report, you see a lot of people, business owners, they're suffering. They're not making sales. People are not coming to buy. For some people that they feel they can do away with some of those, products, they wouldn't buy it because they don't have the cash. Their hands are tied, in actual fact. So facing all of that, it will trickle down to, the lower class, and it will definitely bite hard for them.
Right. Well, we pray all of this blows off at some point soon. I want to thank you so much, Bolanle Agbaje, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. It was great having your perspective today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a moment now. Welcome back to watching Business Morning live on Channels Television. Let's head on to the markets now. Let's take a look at how your money performed yesterday, and we have Will with the details. Will, before we start, surrender all your cash.
Oladi, I did surrender it. I think it got stuck in transit, so you just probably have to go back and pick it up. But right now,
are you transferring cash now?
Yes, because right now with digital age, and I'm just that's what's happening to our money right now. Probably what I did transfer, it got stuck. It's gonna probably get through when I'm done with the program. We're checking on that.
I'll be waiting out for that, because I do not have any cash.
So we saw yesterday's transactions 0.78% up. That's actually a very solid performance from investors and from the NGX. And this kind of begs the question. Is it because of the wide disconnect that we have in the fixed income space in terms of low yields? That's why we're still seeing this bullish sentiments for equities, or is it because of the earnings season that we've seen positive performance from companies? These are questions that come, flooding into investors' minds. Are wondering, are election jitters even real? Because we're nearing election and there's nothing to move the market. It's just crazy. So we saw positive performance from the local bourse yesterday. It resumed the week with an upbeat mood, following bargain hunting in Airtel Africa. And please note, Airtel Africa was the one that dragged the market down last Friday, more than 1%. It was up yesterday, 3.9%, but wasn't able to recoup the losses it made, because it lost about 100 naira in last week's trading session. That was from Friday to yesterday, it gained about 60 naira, so about 40 naira, gap to fill up there. But the all-share index, as we saw, inched up to 0.78% to sit at 54,224 points. The market cap is inching closer to the 30 trillion naira mark. Wait for the close of business today if investors don't take profit. Month to date and year to date returns printed 1.9% and 5.8% each. Still in positive territory. That's a very good sign for the market. Now, total volume traded, however, decreased by 10.6% to 154.62 million units. We saw value, jumped up yesterday, however, compared to volume by 5.5. Jumped to 5.5 billion naira, all transacted in 3,095 deals. Analyzing by sectors, we saw oil and gas, banking, insurance, and the consumer goods were in positive territory yesterday, except for the industrial goods segment, which was down 0.05%. We had corn oil boost the oil and gas index there. Airtel Africa did its thing. That's why the market is mostly positive. But it was a negative market breadth in terms of market breadth was negative because we had 15 losers against 14 losers. Corn oil, as I mentioned earlier, was the biggest gainer in yesterday's trading session. Let's take a look at those that topped the trades yesterday. We saw GT moving in yesterday's trading session. We've been seeing a lot of volumes with GT Now it was up. Investors traded about 36.68 million units of its shares yesterday. Zenith Bank followed by ICO Insurance. We've seen a lot of that. I'm going to get our analysts to talk about what the volume movement means for GT. Now let's look at the gainers for yesterday just very quickly before we talk to our analysts. We saw corn oil there, it was up 9.93%. CWG PLC was also up 9.88%. John Old, following Living Trust, has been had a really good performance in its full year 2022 results, and so investors are really looking forward to their Q4 numbers. And then Triple G has also been on the rise for the past week, and also Triple G had good performance in their Q3 results. Investors are hoping that they get more from their Q4 with earnings that's coming up. Now let's talk to Peter Abbey, equity trader, Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers. Is going to give us a bit more insight as to what's happening there. Good morning, Peter. It's good to have you on the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Peter, let's talk Airtel Africa. They pulled back the market on Friday, as I said earlier, more than 1%. And we're seeing it propping up the market again yesterday and being the most capitalized stock in the exchange, What would you say, how would you describe this movement? What insights would you give to what investors are seeing and the moves we're seeing with this stock traded on the exchange?
All right, so like you mentioned, it's dragged down the markets last week, Friday, and gained again yesterday. We saw volume traded in that name. Basically, what we saw the fact that we have investors interested in the name. If you could remember, they released their 9 months, their quarterly numbers, which were good. So we kept seeing investors' reaction to that. And we believe that even the other telecom, MTN, all these names are good names for investors to pick up. And that's why we are seeing all these positive reactions on the back of the numbers.
Okay, so we were saying we're going to be seeing more positive trade with Airtel. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, and of course we saw that as well in MTN, like I mentioned. So these are good telecom names which investors are really buying, considering their good numbers, and also considering the fact that among in their own space, I think we have just basically 2 of those names, and we expect more buying in them.
So GTCO has seen some volume for some time now. What are expectations from investors?
Most of the banks have released, let me say, few of them released their unaudited numbers. And if you look at GTB, they've not released any numbers. So there is a positive sentiment in that name. And even in the space generally, I mean, they always declare good corporate actions. So we expect that also. I think investors are buying into this just to prepare themselves for the numbers. By the end of this month or into March, we expect these names to release their number. So we feel these are the reasons why investors are taking position ahead of corporate actions, and that we have also seen in other banks as well, not just GTCO. Zenith followed GTCO yesterday in terms of volume. So we feel these are reasons why investors are taking up these stocks.
Don't you think, or do you think that this Naira crunch that we're having is going to have maybe a negative impact on these banking stocks? We saw them pull back in last week's trading session. That's for the full week. The banking stock index was down. Do you think this is going to continue? Because if the cash crunch persists, how are banks going to be able to balance this or make any profits?
So this is one channel. We have other electronic means which the banks have made available for investors to use, and that is exactly alternative channels. We have been seeing that being used. So we to some extent, we may say these are short term. This is just just like 2 months into the year. So we expect going forward into the year that things will turn and it will be positive for the banks.
So what in the real sector now, we have industrial, oil and gas. Oil and gas has been doing pretty good now. Do you attribute this to the boost in our oil production for the oil and gas sector? Do you see them continue to climb higher, especially for the forecast that's been given for that commodity?
Okay, so if you look at the names that have been seeing interest lately, you talk about Connoy and also some other names. But if you look at them, where we'll be seeing most of these, the boost in the oil production will be most of the upstream names, Seplat and the like. So going into the year, we feel this will trickle down into their performance, and as well as into downstream, we'll see a bit of that as well into them.
So what stocks would you say? I'm sure you don't like it. This is not your favorite part of the program, Peter, but what stocks do you think investors should be looking at now to trade or fade at the moment? You know, because investors are looking, elections are coming in, cautious trading is probably coming in for some traders. Investors want to know, and traders want to know what stocks they should be putting their money on. What would you say, Peter?
Okay, so banks still remain one of our favorites. We've mentioned some of these names today, and also the telecoms, like I mentioned, Healthcare, MTN are also there. And industrial, don't let us forget that we have an economy that is boosting, and we see that this will help going into the year. So infrastructures and everything are things that we expect will change going into the year. So these are names that investors will as well start taking position into ahead of the positive sentiment we expect in the economy.
So you talked about the stocks that they do. What strategies do you think they can deploy here? I know you deal with the technicals, Peter, but what strategy do investors have to deploy at this moment? Because we do know that it could be, a lot of risk off mode, probably are turned on right now, not a risk on mode because of the elections. What strategy can investors employ? Because they want to know how to invest and make, good returns for their money.
Okay, so investments is, we have risk, like you mentioned, and frankly, it's not ideal to run out. A bit can be done out of it because, you don't know what the risk look like, but everybody is positive about the fact that it's going to be a good turn for Nigeria. So I think this can also be a reason to take position in the market. Like we mentioned, so many names that can be targeted, the technology, driving banks, all of those things, infrastructure being. So these are the things that investors should look at to take position ahead of where election is there to consider, but we believe it's going to be positive and we can start taking position ahead of time.
Okay, so how do you think the market will close today? Bullish or bearish? Tell us.
Well, it's going to be positive. Don't forget the fact that we saw activity in the Ethereum yesterday, like you mentioned. Banks are still there. People are still buying into them. Gained yesterday. So it's going to be positive, and I don't see any fear. We are positive that things are going to be good going forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter Abi, is equity trader, Stanbic IBTC stockbrokers, for sharing your insights on the program. It's always good to have a nice chat with you. Now, we see the equities, the NESD market also in positive territory yesterday, laddie, 0.59% up to settle at 716.48 points. Market cap still below the 1 trillion naira mark. We're wondering how that's going to bump up to 1 trillion naira. We talked to an analyst to give us more insight, who works that market.
What's that catalyst
to give, it's like what's going to drive that point there, that tipping point, like go up or go down. Is going up or going down?
Will, what still blows my mind in this market is Triple G.
Triple G.
What an incredible run.
It was like phenomenal.
Towards the end of 2022, that was trading about 80 or 90 kobo.
And now it's about
2 naira.
Almost 2 naira. It's
incredible run.
It is.
And I know they're into printing. I know they're like in the printing industry. Is it because of the elections?
Be wondering.
What is driving that stock? And does it still have legs to run
for it. We're just going to wait and see. We're going to keep watching the developing story. I mean, trend. We're going to see how far they're going to run in the market. Triple J. It's quite triple. Incredible. Take the triple.
As well, they're giving us the details for the NGX and the unlisted markets. Let's move on to other markets now. We'll see Bitcoin there holding that 25K level, managing to pivot from the 24,500 pivot zone. Not looking bad. Let's look at the sentiment in the market now. In the crypto market, we see the sentiment, it's still neutral, 60 points, neutral, not far from greed. At this point, we know that the market is still quite bullish, even though some analysts still expect some kind of pullback. Some are still calling it a bear market rally, but it doesn't look bearish at all to me. But let's look at the market cap today. $1.13 trillion, up 1.29% as the market cap. 24-hour volume, it's down 1.85% this morning. I will see Bitcoin dominance still sitting at 42.54%. Let's look at the price of Bitcoin, 25,000 there, holding that level at 8 a.m. this morning. Might be trading lower at this point, up 2.10%, and volume traded $27.61 billion. A lot of bullish sentiment still with Bitcoin, and that's obviously taking the altcoins up. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum also holding on strong to that 1,700 level, back above that, 0.72% up. Volume traded $7.41 billion. So we're seeing Ethereum also following as the second largest crypto coin there on the exchange. Let's look at the top alts by market cap. We see XRP trying to get out of that 30-cent zone, up 2.12%. But we see Cardano down 0.20%. Matic had an incredible run, but we see profit taken there. It's down 1.12%. And BNB holding that $316 level. Let's bring in Solomon Amunde now, financial market analyst. Hello, Solomon. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Laddie.
So a lot is going on in this market now. We're seeing stacks there, that layer one platform. It's been rallying, this year. It's supposed to be a layer one scaling for Bitcoin. Could this be the next trend in the market?
Yeah, I strongly believe as long as Bitcoin stays above 25K dollars, it will give a strong momentum for this to take up as the next trend after the Chinese tokens are done moving. So there are a few projects, although the ecosystem, Stacks ecosystem is extremely new, and we have very, very few projects, barely 4 or 5 projects there, but it has all it takes to be able to become the next trend in the market.
And you did mention the Chinese token trend. That one, I think it started for a while now. How far gone is that trend?
Yeah, I think it's still pretty early because just yesterday, the People's Bank of China injected about $92 billion into the market through reverse purchase or repurchase of contracts. So I feel that's very, very early. If you notice yesterday, we saw most of the Chinese tokens do almost 100% in profits. So I feel people are very, very early, those that want to buy some of the Chinese projects right now.
All right, what are some of these Chinese tokens?
Yeah, for the ones that have moved, we have Conflux. Conflux moved yesterday over 100%. Right, we have some that haven't moved yet, like Flamingo hasn't moved, Gas hasn't moved, TVK hasn't moved, and a few others too, just to mention a few.
And obviously, some will feel like maybe this train has left because, we did miss that AI train in this market, even though some traders are saying the AI trend still has, some leg in it. But what are you seeing for this Chinese tokens? Is it still early or late?
I feel the Chinese token, I'll say we are just 40% in. So anybody coming in now is still very early, as long as you don't buy the tokens that have already moved. If you're not buying TFX, you're early. If you're buying TVK, you're early, obviously. If you're going in to buy Gas, you're early. Flamingo, you're early, and a few others. But if you're buying those that have already moved, then you're playing the game very wrongly.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to buy the top at this point so it doesn't come crashing down on you. Thank you so much, Solomon Amunde, financial market analyst. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Solomon there talking about the new trend in the market and talking about the Chinese tokens there. We see CFX there, top in the counters up 67.51%, quite a big move there. NEO, that's also one of the Chinese tokens, up 31%. So we're seeing that trend build with Stacks also. That's the layer one coin there. And Bone, that's from Sheep there, $1.91, up 14.22%. Let's look at the top losers counter. We see Blur topping that counter, down 5.58%. And Hedera hash bar there, 2.57% down, XMR and BIT. So not bad losses, single-digit losses we're seeing in the market. So we're seeing that bullish trend still carry on in the crypto market. But as I say, it could switch at any time. All right, that's it for the markets, and that's a wrap on the program. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. And you can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, search for Channels Television. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can watch all our productions. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.